Wait, do you ever get disappointed when you're showing someone something for the first time and you really want them to get it? And
No,
they
not
don't?
at all. I think
Yes.
Matt knew exactly where I was
Absolutely.
going with that question.
I'm clearly an Eeyore.
I'm probably Drew.
I'm a Christopher Robin with a Pooh Rising.
And then I get in a canoe and I'm like, players don't like canoes.
No, they don't.
I'm afraid of this lake.
That's exactly what it was.
Ow.
It was a beautiful moment in our friendship. I was
literally in the middle of getting ready. I was like, up and down the
Pathetic.
stairs. Ow. I was like, I'm trying to get my hair done. I'm like,
I don't think that's an accurate representation of my owl.
well, you were in such pain you couldn't see clearly. So,
Trauma.
Thank you for listening to the Last Will podcast. I'm Matt Young. I'm a theater educator and a parent. And ever since I lost my father to cancer, I have been mildly obsessed with death. This is my last will and testament. Jiddu Krishnamurti once said, "The greatest obligation of a human being is to be true to themselves." This week's topic for conversation: obligation. With honesty, with humor, with vulnerability, we dive deep into the idea of obligation. Today's episode is brought to you by Pelvic Fit. Life is about movement, joy, and embracing every moment, but sometimes we forget about the power within us to keep it all together. Meet your pelvic floor, the unsung hero of your body. Your pelvic floor is a complex network of muscles that support your organs, controls bladder and bowel function, and plays a vital role in intimacy. But just like any other muscle in your body, your pelvic floor needs attention and care. Introducing Pelvic Fit, the revolutionary fitness program designed to strengthen and tone your pelvic floor muscles. With Pelvic Fit, you'll have access to a range of exercises and tools that target your pelvic floor, helping you achieve optimal strength and control. Since I started Pelvic Floor, I feel so much more confident and in control. It's amazing how something as simple as a pelvic floor exercise can make such a difference. Rediscover the joy of movement, embrace your body's full potential, and enjoy life to the fullest with Pelvic Fit.
Wow. What's a good one?
We-
Bubblegum.
bubblegum,
Bubblegum.
bubblegum, bubblegum, bubblegum,
Bubblegum,
bubblegum,
Bubblegum, bubblegum, bubblegum, bubblegum, bubblegum, bubblegum, bubblegum, bubblegum.
bubblegum.
Oh my goodness.
Okay, we're warmed up.
Oh, good. So this is like a performance for you.
Beaker.
All right, I pressed record.
God, why
so
is
now-
Beaker funny? I think it's the stationariness and then the mouth.
Yeah,
that
it's
just
so
moves.
funny. I'm thinking of the flowers in the cartoon version of
Alice in
Wonderland
Wonderland.
when they're warming up before their song.
She's a weed.
Yeah.
That's my favorite Disney movie.
Yeah,
Alice
it is
in
a good
Wonderland?
one.
Favorite
I
cartoon one.
rewatched
Yeah,
that, yeah.
always was.
From like the old school
Mhm.
Disney movies.
Mm-hmm.
What's
With
your
the
favorite?
cat Georgia or something.
Do you have a favorite Pixar?
Avatar?
No.
Oh, wait.
Uh-oh.
Sorry.
Well,
Goodness, how dare you?
I have a.
How dare you?
Do you have a favorite Pixar?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I do have a favorite.
Inside
Pixar.
I get confused with Pixar movies because I
think-
don't generally like them.
Okay.
Hold on, wait.
but
Let me just say.
hold on.
Oh, no.
Inside Out could be one of
The best movies ever made.
Yeah, like the script to that
I like that
is
movie a lot.
so phenomenal.
I like Up a lot. That's
And
It
we
Pixar,
didn't even
right?
have to be Pixar. It could have been
It just could have been anything. Yeah. My favorite is Wall-E. I just love
Yes,
Wall-E
yes.
because
Oh, I showed you. We have the Wally Legos.
yeah, because you did, there's like no script for it in terms of dialogue.
I love that.
Like you're just telling a story through visual, so I love that.
I'll be
Did
specific-
Grady just say that he doesn't like Pixar?
I can't stand the Toy Story series. That's torture. If you want to sit me down to watch any of those,
You can't
I'd rather
stand them.
No, I'd rather just sit in my own filth.
Wow.
They suck.
Wow, suck.
Yep, they suck.
I bawled my eyes
Cars
out.
sucks.
Bawled my eyes out at the end of 3.
You're soft.
Spoilers. I'm totally soft. Spoilers for the end of 3. But
Why
like,
don't I
when
like-
they all decide that they're going to die in the flaming garbage pit, and they all grab hands and they like accept it
I don't
before
think,
the claw comes in.
I don't think I made it past 2.
Oh my goodness!
Yeah.
I don't like
They
cars.
were very loud, and they scared me a little bit when I was a kid. So I didn't really care to keep watching them.
I chose to do a podcast with you people. That's blowing my mind.
Well, I don't know why I don't like the movies. I just don't like Toy Story. I don't like it.
But you don't know why you can't center why?
I never have been able to, and because in all intents and purposes, on paper, I should.
My youngest loved Cars. Cars 2 is garbage.
I hate Cars. Yeah, Cars 2 is garbage.
But like, there's something redeeming about
Lightning McQueen.
Yeah, there's a lot of Pixar I haven't seen. I haven't seen Cars. I haven't seen the Minions one.
That's not
Despicable.
That's not Pixar.
Why does it look like Pixar?
That's
DreamWorks.
Frixar. Oh, Frixar.
I think it's DreamWorks.
It's DreamWorks.
Yeah.
And then
I love Kung Fu Panda now. That's my jam.
That's your jam.
All three of them. Please, oh my God, when the peacock, the crazy peacock.
The Incredibles. You don't like The Incredibles?
I love the Incredibles.
I didn't see the Incredibles.
That's Pixar.
Yeah. Pixar for me didn't open up to me until later. Even though when I was nannying for my kid, who's 19 now, he loved all those. So I would watch those with him when he was little, but I just didn't like them.
Yeah, my eldest watched WALL-E so many times.
WALL-E is
a
staple for us.
It was so nice that it was a movie that you could watch over and over and over again.
Oh.
Still can.
You know? Yeah, absolutely. If it's not really like on, but if it was,
I was about to say, if it is on, I'll stop.
I would watch it. Yeah, for sure.
What other Pixar? Up, of course.
Never saw
Up just destroys you from the minute it starts. I mean, and Asner has just never been better.
Yeah, for sure.
And the Lego Up set is really cool.
Wow. Oh, well.
I'm not. Don't be mad. It's just Toy Story. Don't be mad. It's
We're
just
not mad
Just
at
a
you.
Toy Story.
I'm
You only went through 2, so you don't get to say anything.
That's true.
Ow!
true.
Oh, ow!
Did you crick your neck?
Yeah, did you do that to me?
Yeah, she did.
You looked at me like this. Oh, did you hurt yourself? Was your neck? Did it crick?
She put a little spell on you.
I put a smell on you.
Hi, everybody.
Hi.
Walked into this.
Good morning.
We are back. It's Matt.
I never left.
Oh, that's true.
We live here.
It's been a little
I've
awkward.
been under the table.
It's Matt, Grady, and Claire,
Hi.
and we are here to talk about what I think is a pretty interesting subject, and I'm looking forward to hearing you guys' opinions on it, because I think there's always something to kind of learn about something like this, and it has both positive and negative things. So today's discussion is going to be about obligation. Obligation.
I'm obligated to talk about it.
Yeah. Well,
It's not even like something I even think I have a lot to say about.
Actually, I think you
Oh,
have
really?
way more to say about it than you think you do. No, because we do. I think there's many facets of obligation. It's a
Yeah.
very, very, very interesting subject to me.
can we talk about obligation without talking about burden?
Yes,
As well?
absolutely.
Okay.
Obligation should not. It's that those two get lumped together a lot, but they don't necessarily
Because I think
go together.
in the negative aspect of it, though, when you get caught up in certain obligations that are maybe forced on you, they can be a burden.
Well, that's different then. That's been forced on you. But there are
Right.
obligations that we're just given in life, and we make them a burden.
Right. Well, isn't part of
Well, I
obligation
think-
like a little bit of a burden?
See, that's what
No.
that's what I was thinking.
I think
'cause
that the word's been bastardized. I don't think that's what it
Oh.
means.
well, I think we're gonna blow your
obligation-
mind because I think you're looking at it on
And
under one light, and I think there's another light to be looked
no,
at.
the light I'm looking at is that it well, now I forgot what the light.
Well, we have a chandelier light.
It's neon.
Where are we?
It's dimmed.
It's a little
I
dim
don't want to
today.
put too bright a light. Let's just go to the definition first.
Okay.
Before we even
Hit me,
bust
Matt.
out. An obligation is a duty. Oh, sorry. Let's start again.
How is it spelled?
Duty. It doesn't matter. I always think of it with two O's.
An obligation is a deuce.
An obligation is a duty or responsibility to do something, typically because of a legal or moral requirement. It is a commitment to perform a certain action and to adhere to a particular set of rules or standards. Obligations can be imposed by law, by contract, by social norms, or by personal values and beliefs. Failing to fulfill an obligation can result in negative consequences such as legal penalties, loss of reputation, or harm to oneself or others.
Yeah.
That is the definition of obligation.
I got to look at this paper and I got to look at it
Okay.
and
I also put the definition of burdens because I think that there's
Obligation and burden will go together very easily. Can they be separated? Yes.
Yeah, well, absolutely. Because let's talk about positive obligations, right? It says there are obligations by social norms is one of the things. So what are some of the social norm obligations that we would deal with?
Going to parties.
Saying hello to say.
To maintain friendships? Is that what
Yeah,
you mean?
well, you said social, so I think about
You think about social.
I think about going to parties.
Obligation to put your grocery cart back, to shut your car door when you park. You're obligated to do that. If you don't,
You're obligated
you
to
leave
follow
your car.
the rules of the road.
Yeah, you are.
Mm-hmm.
And there are obligations we don't even have to think of sometimes that are just built in.
So the obligation of putting your cart back at the grocery store
It's not.
is not widely held by most people.
No, but it's judged by the people that watch people do it and then drive away and talk about them, even though they.
I've definitely seen a lot of videos on the TikTok that show that people penalizing other people for not putting their carts back.
But then they don't get out and do it
Oh my god.
either.
No,
They
no.
just video it and go, oh, I can't believe that person did it.
But I think
Gotta
that's just
go."
like it's like a courtesy. But I don't know if it's not an obligation because there is an employee of said store who goes out there and wrangles them like cattle. And maybe they would be doing a different thing if they didn't have to. But like there is a person out there who does that. But look,
Well,
I
okay.
do it a good 70% of the time.
I do too.
Just because I feel like
I try not to use a cart.
I think it's good karma, and I just think that you try not to use a cart.
Well, you're also
I don't use a
obligated
cart.
to
I carry
to
everything. After
yeah.
living in New York for 15 years, I'm just used to carrying everything.
carrying things, and you could bring bags now.
Yes.
Well, you're also
Yeah, you
obligated
can,
to.
Clay. You can bring bags
Oh,
now.
that's another obligation.
Bringing your bag.
Bringing your own bags.
Yes,
an I don't think that these are obligations, though.
but you can if you make them an obligation for yourself.
Yes, but I think that's totally different. That's like
you
setting a
wanna talk about
standard for
obligations
yourself.
that are put upon is if I get a dog, I'm obligated to take care of that dog.
Yes.
whether I do that or not,
Because you're not
is-
required to.
Right.
Well, I mean, if
Well, you're not required to take bags, but you are required that if you adopt
an
animal
animal to take care of it.
yeah, it's an obligation
if you
to
don't-
walk and feed it.
well,
Right.
if you don't though, then you're left with the burden of that animal's.
So then that creates a burden.
But if you don't,
This is so not the way I saw this going.
Well,
This is not what I mean.
I'm so sorry, Matt. I'm so sorry right
My
now.
expectations are poof.
Well, then you have an obligation to yourself to open up your mind.
Okay.
And I feel burdened by you telling me.
well, I think in fact, we are obligated to do a lot of things that we don't have to. I mean, everything is a choice pretty much. Like we can choose to work, we can choose to conduct our lives in a way because the consequences outweigh the obligation. So
Right. So if there are consequences to something, that usually kind of lifts up a certain obligation.
Big time.
Like even okay. So I started off with social, which was stupid. I should have started off with legal obligations. You have legal obligations because that's as black and white as can be.
Right.
Like you
That's top of
follow
heap,
the law,
black and white, yes.
right? Or the consequences are you'll
you'll lose your house, you'll lose your car,
you'll get
pay
arrested,
taxes.
you could get murdered.
Uh,
Any of those things. So you have to. What are the obligations of the law? Well, you can't assault somebody, right? Claire just made a face
well,
saying
people
you can't
do
assault.
it all the time.
I know, but like
But on the
legally,
Same, no, well, this isn't legal, but it's still under the obligations that one must do. Say I take on a role in a theater project. I'm obligated to deliver those lines when I need to deliver them, etc.
yes, but again,
Or
that
the play falls apart.
Let's just stick with legal for now. Like legally, you're obligated to drive on the right side of the road.
Right.
You're obligated to stop at stop signs.
And those are things we don't even think about, really, because, well, I guess the subconscious does because we just do it.
Well, isn't that kind of fascinating? Like when I have my kids in the car and they're watching us, me or my ex-wife drive in traffic or something like that, they're kind of fascinated by the fact that everybody's playing by the same rules. And if we all don't play by the same rules of the road, especially like on the highway,
death.
catastrophe.
Yes, catastrophe.
You know,
Well, I think there are certain rules of the road that some people take more seriously than others. And I'm just thinking of the difference of like a stop sign and no turn on red. So every time I see a no turn on red,
You will go ahead and turn.
I think about it, because lately I've been seeing more no turn on red signs in areas where where there were not signs before.
it's a metaphor.
So is it?
What if you're seeing signposts? What if they're not really there? But
Mandela effect.
What if they were there the whole time and I didn't see them before?
well, that's true too.
No, but now I'm
Actually,
like,
is very
well,
true.
okay, so for a stop sign, I know I have to stop here or someone's going to see that I didn't stop and I'm going to get in trouble. But if I'm and it's actually more realistic if I'm at a stoplight where they have cameras, I think, that if I turn on red where there's no turn on red sign. But I think like, oh, well, maybe just this once. Like maybe if I'm in a rush because I'm late for something, I can just do it. So I feel more, there's a little bit more of an obligation for me to stay at that light and not turn on red rather than at a stop sign where I'm like, no, I definitely have to stop. This stop sign is important.
But it's all based on the consequences.
Credit card,
Mm-hmm.
you're obligated to pay,
Yes, otherwise your credit will.
or you go to jail.
Yeah.
Yeah, and some people don't put enough weight on that. You will. I mean, eventually, if you don't pay a credit card, it's like years before you'll go to jail.
Oftentimes, if people can't see it, smell it, touch it, or hear it, it doesn't exist. So people use a card. Oh, it's done, paid
Yeah.
for.
You
Well,
you pay the minimum.
It's actually not. Now you're paying interest, and
I
you're
know.
obligated to fulfill that.
But for me, that consequence of having interest on a balance
Too
is
much for me. No,
I can't.
I don't do it.
I can't do it.
Nope.
Because if me losing money to me is like a consequence that I just don't want to have to deal with.
It's the unavoidable. It's the avoidable, and the avoidable makes me so. Ooh, that just burns me up. Things that
Exactly.
are unavoidable. Things that are avoidable.
So to me,
And
that's
we
not an obligation. That's
So
a
you've
personal
now created a
requirement.
burden for yourself through that obligation, and it's your own fault.
But some people would think of losing money hurts their obligation to their family. You know, if you don't have the
Well,
money
that's
to
true too.
pay for, I don't want to say the necessity. I was going to say luxury, but it's really the necessities of life.
Is
Like
it-
I have an obligation to feed my kids when they're here. I can't not feed them. There's not really a choice in that.
Then if they don't eat right and they don't feel good and kind of get ill, then you're obligated to take care of them. If you don't take care of them, the obligation can be like a whole chain that just keeps growing if you don't
Absolutely.
deal with the main obligation to begin with. I think the biggest obligation we don't deal with, not to move out of legal, is the obligation to oneself.
Absolutely. Okay.
Ooh.
And that's the biggest obligation that we ignore because it's the easiest, because it doesn't affect anyone else. We think it doesn't, but if we're not okay to deal with ourselves, what are we doing out in the world?
And what are we obligated to ourselves?
You're obligated to give yourself.
That's a good question, Clara. That's what I was just thinking.
You're obligated to give yourself space when you need to, forgiveness, to give yourself grace, to eat as well as you can, to sleep, to drink water, to take advantage of the things that you have, to be thankful. I think we're obligated to be thankful. You don't have to be, but it sure makes life a lot nicer and easier.
All of those things to me are actual, they're survival things.
Yeah, but most people, but people don't.
But yeah, you have to see, Claire, that's not commonplace. Do you
I don't know. I mean, I feel like if I don't eat, then I will be miserable, and I don't want to feel that way.
So
Like there's,
so you're acknowledging the obligation to yourself that you need to eat.
well, I don't have. It's not really I mean, if I feel like if I'm in a time of like high stress and anxiety, and I don't feel like eating, then I do feel obligated to feed myself because I know I need
You
the
got to make
nutrients.
yourself do that.
But
right.
then when in a time that I'm not like that and I'm just totally functioning and I'm fine, I do not feel an obligation to do those things. I just feel like, oh, I'm hungry, I'm going to eat. Oh, I'm tired, I'm going to sleep. Oh, I'm thirsty, I'm going to drink some water. Oh, I'm going to, I'm happy to go hang out with my friends, or I'm happy to go do this.
Is there any difference between obligation and responsibility? Because I'm thinking about like I'm obligated to feed my
Yes.
kids, but no, that's just it's my responsibility.
Well, there are
I
certain
decided to have kids, so I'm responsible for them.
It's a little bit of both, but it's more the responsibility then.
Well, there are certain things that you can make your responsibility rather than an obligation. I think sometimes it can be a choice. Ooh.
Obligations for me tend to push me away.
Yeah. Oh, for
But
sure.
of course, they're usually ones that I've created for myself.
So, oftentimes in life, we have extended family, right?
Yes.
And they will ask a certain thing from us, and we will, I believe, feel obligated to help them out, even if
100%.
they are asking and asking and asking, and you're just giving and giving and giving, and there's no give and take. Let me say for the record that that's not my family. I don't have that experience. Of course, my family is very small, but I know people who have that strain in their life, and they can't break that cycle of just giving and giving and giving while their family takes.
Well, that just
And that
sounds...
feels like a very that feels like that's where it's bordering on, like, you're putting a burden on
But
these
it's
people.
become a burden.
Yeah, that
It's-
sounds
it's
unhealthy.
beyond obligation, and now
Mhm.
it's a complete burden, and it's eating at your soul. You're not sleeping.
Because it has to be. Give
But
and
the
take,
thing is,
right?
like,
But
you're not
that-
doing anything about it.
That's a
Generally.
Yeah, that's a self-imposed obligation. Like you're
yes,
you're not.
But
but how do
Are
you,
they all?
are they all? Yeah.
no? How do you and then how do you break that? Because
Say
it's
no.
your family, and you feel
You have a mental breakdown, and then you walk away. You eventually spend yourself.
I
And
don't,
you're like,
I
can't
don't
do this
usually have the
anymore.
meltdown or the breakdown until after I've actually dealt with it.
Okay, dealt with it.
It-
Oh, okay.
If I can.
Well,
I'm
that's-
I'm
yeah.
learning to. And it goes back to saying no.
Yeah.
Or I cannot. Or I need more time. Or this is not for me.
so in dealing with an obligation that could become a burden, the idea of saying no, of having a bit of self-care, about setting boundaries, right?
Well,
Setting
there,
boundaries
it's really,
for
that's,
yourself.
yes, it is. Boundaries. That would say that's really what it's
Well,
about.
because if you
it's
keep
not even
giving,
about saying no, but
yeah.
just having those boundaries in place that you don't have to worry about. Yeah.
Well, let's say you feel
Well, some
obligated
people
to a
push
family
through
member
boundaries.
because they're, somebody close to them passed away in their family, and you feel like you should be like offering some money or bringing them food, and then you do that because you almost feel an obligation, but it's also out of the kindness of your heart, and then you notice that they're no longer taking care of themselves. You're providing for them, and then eventually it becomes too much for you, so you have to stop. But then they keep looking to you like, oh, I'm hungry, or can I borrow some money? And then you're like, well, wait, now it's becoming an obligation that I feel like I have to continue this because
So then it was an obligation before. It was a matter of the heart, and you did it from the heart,
Mhm.
and anything from the heart's not an obligation. It becomes an
Right.
obligation when it starts to become a burden, and it's
Uh-huh.
too much. You've let it go too far.
Mm-hmm.
I'm asking.
Yeah, no, I think
I'm not telling you. I'm just asking.
Well, yeah, because then if it becomes a burden, then you have to create a boundary.
These things kiss each other so
Yeah, that's-
easily,
that's what
and
I
it's
was trying
hard to go, wait a minute, no, that's burden, that's obligation, this is responsibility, and then this is what I want to do.
See, I think that's what I was trying to get at the beginning. It's hard for me to wrap my mind around the idea of obligation.
Being fun.
Yes, it doesn't feel fun.
What are you doing
It
today?
feels
I got
like
4 or 5
It feels like
obligations.
it's Frenching in the corner with
It's,
birds all the time.
it's not there's nothing fun in that definition of obligation.
Right, but like when I think about it's my responsibility to take care of my kids.
Do
to me,
I-
that doesn't feel like
That's not an
a
obligation.
negative.
Yeah.
We'll do following.
And-
Who talks like that?
That's not a negative.
I've been working on my French dialect, so
But don't you think
I'm lifting
you
second
have been? That
syllables.
sounded
Negative.
nice. But do you find that I think that following through, and I know I did a.
How can we recover from my pronunciation? I don't think there's any recovery.
We can't.
from
Let's
that.
talk about Star Search. That was a show that was on. No, but do you find that? Here, let Claire Russell her Star.
The woman needs to eat, so let her eat.
If that was me as a man, you would yell at me.
Would I?
Now we're moving into that different.
I could. Am I that sexist?
No.
Have I ever yelled at you?
No.
I
That's gonna-
think
that's
Grady-
gonna
With your
change.
with your
That's gonna
eyes,
change.
with your eyes, with your mind, you have yelled at me. I have heard you yell at me in your mind. And I thought,
Oh,
I'd
baby.
rather not that happen in real life.
Yes.
So why don't I sit down and shut the fuck up
I
and
think
do whatever Matt
Grady
says? But do you?
felt
but
obligated to say something
I
because
feel-
he knew that my bag was going to start rustling. I just got up from my chair to go to my purse to get my pumpkin loaf out of there.
all
to
right,
eat
Dr.
something.
Spock, you're reaching here. That's not. I didn't even
now I'm
think
talking
about
with my
that.
mouth full.
Yeah.
'Cause
Clear
if
as
you didn't
he-
mention it,
He
then
fe-
it
no, he
would
felt
be
a
awkward.
responsibility to the audience to let them know that it wasn't him.
do you find that, and I do, I find this, that there are obligations are you generally not fun, but sometimes or often following through with obligations, seeing it through the end strengthens us, and it makes the next time you have an obligation of possibly the same sort of energy, or it's going to the same party, and then it's easier.
This is a
So, right, like right now, I'm working on the summer show
Okay.
in Stanford with
You're
the
working
youth
with
theater,
kids. Yep.
9 to 21. This is my 5th summer. I love it. I have a responsibility to them,
Right.
to myself, to get myself healthy, but I do have an obligation to them when I'm in that theater. I have an obligation to make sure I'm giving them 800% of what I've got and what I know,
Impossible.
but I'll keep trying.
Yeah, but like you can't give 800%.
Sure, I can.
No, I think that the top is 100%. You can't go over 100%. I'll give it 110%. No,
Fine.
you can't. It's
I go in there and
impossible.
I give 89% every time I'm in there.
Oh, don't you think they deserve 100%?
See, now and now.
I'm sorry.
Okay, take your mom's weight, divide that by 3, take
How
your birth
dare
year,
you?
put that into.
My poor mother. No, I
Claire's eating Farbucks.
It's a stupid pet peeve. But like, am I wrong? There's
No.
nothing more than 100%. 100% is full.
I think people just want to say that just because it's an expression of I'm going above and beyond. Then just say I'm going above and beyond. How
Right.
about that?
Yeah, 150.
Okay. So I usually go and give 50% when I'm there with the kids, and
Grr, arg.
I go in there and I give 25% every single time I'm there. It gets lower and lower, but it is an obligation. I have an obligation to uphold the standards of the theater while I'm there with the kids, and that is important to me.
I think you have an obligation to uphold your standards. I think that's what's
Well,
driving
that's
you.
true, and I even said it to someone else. I can't expect for someone else to hold up the same standards that I'm going to hold up. I have an obligation just to hold up the 101s of the theater. I don't know.
No, I think you probably have an obligation to yourself to
I have an obligation to be on time. I have an obligation to.
yeah, but like you have an obligation to your standards, and to share your standards is to
Let kids know that they'll never reach them
yes, they'll never ever
because
reach them.
mine are at
That's the way
900%.
That's the way you work. with
They're at
kids.
900%.
Unbelievable. These poor kids.
And I'll let you know, you want to work in this business rest of your life?
No, but what I'm
You're
trying to
not
say is
gonna.
like you're trying to model the standard by the way that you work. So you have an obligation to keep,
Uphold my standards.
Yes.
Okay, I understand.
and
yes,
so you're
yes,
upholding your
yes,
standards
yes.
in order to model that for the kids.
Right. My responsibility is to be there for the kids. It's not an obligation, though. Because if it was an obligation,
Right.
I wouldn't do it.
Right. But you're
But
obligated
I'm
to
getting. I'm
yourself.
starting to understand what you're meaning by they just that word just can't be fun. It's not a fun word.
I feel like
If I felt obligated, I had to be with the kids. I would be like, ugh, because it feels like it's a reward for me.
yeah.
So I feel responsible for my behavior and for what I say to them and how I interact with them. But I'm not obligated to be there.
right.
Well, you
So I
wanna
I'm
think
there because I want to be there.
if we look at the definition imposed by law, by contract, by social norms, or by personal values and beliefs.
Right.
So this is definitely
Don't
personal
fart in the
value.
elevator.
It's so funny though.
Well,
It's
sometimes
so
you
funny.
have to.
No, you don't.
I don't know.
I beg to disagree.
I mean,
Well-
I
if
beg
I,
to disagree.
I beg.
That's worse than saying 100.
I beg to agree.
I beg, it's beg to differ.
I beg to wish.
I beg to fart.
You beg to fart.
I no, I can't
Oh,
not.
God.
If
Judy,
I,
what's wrong? Oh, I beg to fart. I don't know.
So obligation by law and by contract, those things are you know.
Just the tangent we went on.
Wow.
Sorry.
I beg to fart.
I told you this would be a very, I didn't say strange episode, but like interesting. But it has nothing to do with
Sorry, Matt, you've
obligation.
been trying to speak for.
No, it's all right. It is what it is. This is.
I have something to say,
Please.
and it's more like something to open up because I'm going to talk.
What, your butt cheeks?
You're
No.
So you're gonna talk it through to find it, right?
Yeah, to find it.
Okay.
Oh, God, here we
So
go.
I'm taking these classes, as you guys know, these online courses
Le Mans.
in gemology.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
I'm thinking of French. I got French for a minute. Le Mans.
And so a couple years ago, I made this decision to take these online classes because I was like, well, what if one day I want to start my own business and I feel like I need to educate myself on these subjects in the
I think I see where you're going.
in the jewelry industry. And so I decided to really like financially commit to this. I mean, the company that I work for actually reimburses me for my courses, which is great. But I cannot take these courses.
You also give 1,000% at that job.
I'm
gonna bite you.
No, you
I'm
did.
gonna bite you.
I do give like at least 99%. Well, I don't know. That's debatable, but I work really hard there. And I've decided to take these online courses so that I can work and take the classes at the same time on my own schedule. But I front the money and then I take the class. And if I don't pass the class, then, I have to pay for it again.
Right.
So it's become, these classes are, it's very hard to work full time and then take the classes on my own time. And also if I decide to do a performance, it's hard to balance all of that. And these classes are very time consuming. It's a lot of reading. It's a lot of information. So it's become something that I have, I feel like I owe myself, but lately the work has become kind of monotonous and almost boring.
That's a burden.
And I'm like, and my company does not require me to do this. They're not necessarily, they're reimbursing me for my classes, but they're not employing my education. They're not exactly saying like, oh, Claire, since you have this information, we're going to ask more of you. They're happy that I'm doing it. I'm happy that I'm doing it, but I'm starting to think like, why am I doing this? And because for me, it's like, it is becoming a burden. So I do feel an obligation. I feel a financial obligation.
Because you paid for it.
I'm paying for it. And
Now
I
it's a
actually have to
burden.
finish the
Contract.
courses at a certain,
Right.
I have an end date that I have to finish them by.
Contract.
I've decided this summer, like I can't do a show. I have to like not do certain social things that I want to do because I have to finish these classes. And after this one, there's one more that I have to take and I'm not sure if I want to do it because it's so time consuming and I kind of want my life back.
Why do burdens, when this has become a burden, am I right? Almost.
I think so. I feel
The
an
obligation
obligation
that is
to myself.
And then it's creating a burden on you now because you are like, I don't even know if I want to finish it. Do obligations oftentimes turn into burdens, which then when we get to the finish line, we don't even want to deal with it anymore?
I mean, I feel like there has to be a high percentage of that to be true.
Do you feel like, because a lot of times I feel like I get to the end of something and I'm like, and I won't even blame this on being autistic or ADHD, but just, I think everybody just, I'm like, fuck it. I'm done. I want to do it.
Because sometimes
I don't want to finish it.
Sometimes, so the last course that I took was when I finished it, it was so satisfying. And I was really proud of
I
myself.
was just about to get into satisfaction.
The
Satisfaction.
Satisfaction. There is a great satisfaction of getting through a wall like that. You're like, this was a burden. It was an obligation that created a burden, and now I finished it, and I feel really relieved. And there's,
but sometimes I feel good. So even when I do a show, sometimes the rehearsal process can be tricky.
yes.
and you're like,
Oh God, that's awful. No, I just
No,
did
you're making noises into a microphone. That was caught, and we heard it.
but it's true.
thanks,
It can be hard. Like there's a lot of stuff that goes on along the way, and everyone's like, "Oh, enjoy the journey," and you're
Oh,
like,
fuck you.
"Yeah, no,
Fuck
it's-
you.
it's
Enjoy the
not-
journey to the theater at 7:00 every night and like sit around and listen to a bunch of mouth breathers. Is this on? Is this mic on?
Yeah, it is.
Oh.
Yeah,
It's
but then,
recording. This is
I
gonna go
love
out to the world.
theater.
but
and
then you
it's
do
just-
the show, and you're so satisfied.
Right.
It's
Right.
so
I
satisfying.
feel like I have to get to that point. I get to that point usually where I do not, I start to hate the show.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to do it anymore. And then the curtain goes up. No, it has nothing to do with an audience being there. Then we're ready to go. Then I start to have fun again.
It's magic. I think it's magic.
I love the process.
I do too. It is the
Oh.
best part of
I
it.
do. I
It's the best part of
love the
it.
journey just because that's.
And that and backstage.
You're saying the opposite of what I said.
Yeah, I mean, I do like performing because I like.
I like the work.
I only like the process if you guys are in it.
Well, thank you.
Aww.
That's very nice.
It's more fun that way.
Same back at you for.
But the process
for
is
truth,
the best part of
truth,
it, though,
truth.
isn't it?
Well, for me, it absolutely is.
Once there's an
And-
audience, I'm like, well, we're wrapping up. This is it. Like,
No, that's
mean,
when
I-
it all starts.
See, but I do like performing. I won't say that
Well-
I won't, but I do like the idea of in a good environment, the creativity that can happen during a process. People aren't comfortable with in a performance, and so that's the thing that I miss. If everybody was happy being spontaneous and present, then it would totally feel different. But here's since we've talked about performing and creativity, the way that obligation comes into my vocabulary in life is as a teacher and as a director. And what I often say is when we're working on a scene and I don't know when this is going to come out, but we had a conversation the other day about dreams and we kind of brought this up. I feel like it's imperative in your work to at least, while you're rehearsing at some point, throw away the obligations of the play in a scene, because you may discover something in the moment that makes a lot of sense, and it may be a small moment. But if you're always just obligated to what the finished product is, you're never going to find those paths that are less traveled.
You said something like that the other day when talking about if you're already locked in the process, then there's nothing to. The time to be locked in is when we're open. We're open.
If then for me,
Well,
I
I
don't
agree.
know.
Well, I agree
a lot
with you.
of
I agree with you
people
too.
like that.
And you and I were on that same hum, but I'm like, we're never stop playing. Don't mess things up, but don't ever stop playing. But
we mess things up.
well,
I'm
I
sure.
agree too. But yeah, don't
No,
you throw that
during
paper.
during the process, you have to forget about your obligation to.
The texts.
Sometimes, I mean, you still have to use the text, but you have to forget about your obligation to make it all work
Interesting.
in order to like
Get out of the way of
discover
yourself.
something. Yeah, to get out of the way of whatever your first impressions are, to force yourself to find a new and exciting path. And it's not, again, going to be the way that you're going to perform it in the end, but you have to give yourself the freedom to not worry about what it's going to look like in the end, in order to really kind of spread your wings and find something that may have been there all the time. Because as people, and this is what we're trying to do as performers, is you're trying to recreate life. And as we see, people are not like one thing. We're simple and we're complex at the same time. We don't always cry when we're sad, and we don't always laugh when we're happy, and we don't always scream when we're angry. There's a certain nuance that you have to figure out how this person handles that stuff. And it may be different than you. And so when you move away from the idea of I have to just finish what this playwright wants in a rehearsal process, I think you're cutting yourself really, really short. And then you have no place to go because you've like figured it all out, and then you can just walk away. And I just think that that's silly. That's not what a rehearsal process is for.
I guess
No,
it
it's
depends.
not.
It depends on where you're, the company that you're doing it with.
Yeah.
Because
yeah, you're right.
there are certain times that I
Are
feel
you?
like. Well, I'm just thinking about the times that I've been in rehearsals at places where, if I leave work at 5:30.
Name the specific theaters
And people.
and the people right now.
Okay,
if
so
I,
when
if
you
I
leave.
leave work at 5:30, get home at 6, have to be somewhere else by 7, and I have a half an hour to decompress, eat dinner, clean up after dinner, get changed, think about what, my next, if I have a half an hour commute to the next place, I don't have enough time to do life, like stuff that I need to do for my physicality, my body, my well-being, to decompress, to be ready for the rehearsal. So,
I'm better that way.
So what I do is I feel obligated to go to rehearsal, but I have no idea what I'm going to be doing. I don't prepare for the rehearsal. I don't know unless I have to be off book. So I operate instead of what would be the word that
there's no organicness.
Exactly. There's nothing organic about that. Like if I had to learn lines, I'll learn them. If I had to memorize music, I don't know. I just kind of don't. I just sort of,
because you're a music genius.
It happens when you're blocking the show, and then you have to remember the words because whatever.
Yeah.
But you have to remember your blocking. You write it down in your script, and everything is operational. And then you go home. It's 10 o'clock at night, and you have to go to bed and get up to go to work the next day. So there's nothing like stuck. No creative process was there. So there's that. But then there's a show that we did last fall, and I'll remember that the thought process that I had going into that was, yes, there was a little bit of an operation going on when we were at rehearsals, but I felt like I was asked to do some things differently when I was reading the lines, and that was very helpful. And what I took out of that, Matt, as you were mentioning, moving away from the script a little bit, or letting that go, and not kind of creating your own process.
Right. It's like your obligation to the scene. Like, you're still using the script, you're still using the lines, but your obligation to make it work in like performance
make it
way.
real.
So I didn't even know. I didn't have an idea of what I was supposed to do for that character.
With your lines, yeah, I remember that. You didn't know most of your lines.
No, I knew my lines. Well, I eventually knew my lines, but
I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
But I took what I thought was appropriate for that character, and I created her. And it wasn't until the show opened that people spoke to the director. Was like, "Oh, I didn't know that that person was really funny, or that character was supposed to be funny." And the director was like, "She's not, but Claire made her funny."
Yeah.
And to me, that was just the totally like natural thing to do. Like, I thought that I was supposed to be the comic relief of the show, and I took it and I went with it. And she is a total bitch.
Yeah.
And but that's also kind of funny.
Ooh, shall go.
But oh Lord,
I think people didn't realize how funny that play was going to be.
Well, I thought it needed that.
Yeah,
and
I don't think we realized how funny it was going to be. Did we?
It's not a funny show, but I think you needed it.
There were a couple of things that were pretty clear to me.
I find, yeah.
I always,
An overture.
I always thought that Kitty was. I always thought that Kitty was funny. I did.
Yeah, I did too.
Well,
I never got that it wasn't a funny role. I was like, no, this is a
But
funny
also,
character.
she was a comedian in real life.
Right.
Yeah.
So I
Her
thought
Desdemona was a perfect example. of
right.
that.
So all of the stuff that I had read about her from the play
Right.
was what I thought was appropriate, the way that I played her in terms of,
I wouldn't call it a comic romp, but
No, but she had feelings, and those feelings came out in a way that, I mean, I think I would have if I were living in that time period. I think that would have been me.
Well, I think we were very lucky to have a script that wasn't one thing. It wasn't just one thing. It was very moving. It was very powerful. It was also very funny.
but it could have been played in a different way.
With a different director.
That wouldn't
for
have
sure.
been. It wouldn't have been funny. Maybe.
No.
I don't know, but you can't put Matt and I on stage together in a scene about props and moving stuff, and he just sits there, and I'm about to lose my mind and pull my hair out, and us not get a laugh. I hope we would.
Yeah, but also
I
like
think we did.
But for us, I think the situation gave us a foundation of, if we play it right, we play the relationship right, whatever that is, that it can be funny. And I also think tension and release is the best type of laughs, other than setup and
And there was a
punchline.
lot of that.
But
Yeah.
anyways, enough
Anyway.
about the joyful noise. I just want to say in response to what Claire was saying, that's why I start my rehearsals at 7:30.
Okay.
Oh, you do?
Yeah, 7:00 just doesn't make sense to me for people who work.
That 30 minutes makes all the difference.
I think it does.
Yeah.
It makes a big difference.
That's
And
interesting.
I
Gives
try not
me,
to hold
like,
you out till 10.
30 minutes to stare at the wall and just not think.
Yeah, it's important. So we have the obligations of beliefs, which I think are probably the positive ones because those are the ones that we want to take into our life. Laws and contracts, those types of obligations can go either way. They can be, certainly with contracts, it can be a choice, but then it can become a financial burden and stuff like that. And then we have the social obligations, which sometimes when you are studying gemology and you have extra classes, it's a beautiful excuse to get out of
Yeah.
some of those social obligations.
Social
I just can't.
I
Yeah,
hate
or
social
yeah,
obligations.
or but sometimes a social obligation gives me the excuse not to do my homework.
gives me
Yeah,
the excuse not to
for
go.
me, more times than not, it's an excuse to get out of something
I actually,
social.
yeah, well, I like to do social things more than I like to do my homework, so that's the problem.
Oh,
Yeah,
but if it was like,
but if I'm on the
sit
if
at
I'm
home
on the
and
clock,
watch TV or do something social.
so
TV.
that depends. That depends on what mood I'm in.
Or reading.
Yeah, I try not to pass up on too many social situations because I think it's good for me to be out there and socialize with other people. But then there are times that I just can't, and that I allow myself to do that once in a while. But like, last night, nobody called. I got no text messages from any friends. I just got Snapchats from some friends for like,
Was Saturday night like a hot zone for you? Or did you dry up? What happened?
I don't know. I don't know what
I
happened.
didn't get any texts last night.
I didn't talk to anyone
I
last
still
night.
wanted to go to the movies yesterday too.
Well, I also felt
Oh, you
obligated
did?
Yeah.
to
It's just like-
I'm
It's
taking my
Spideyverse.
kitten is home this week and my family is out of town, and I mean, I guess obligated to stay at home with the kitten because I want him to have a friend and to play with somebody because he's very social. He likes to like be around us. So if somebody invited me to go out, I would have said no. I'm going to stay home. I'm going to watch a movie in my house where the kitten gets to play around me.
Right.
But this whole week I stayed home. Like I think I went out like once or twice after work, but otherwise I stayed home and I was with the cat.
So we can use the idea of obligation to get out of things too.
Oh, okay.
It can be a clever way of avoiding social
It
situations.
can be a clever way, but are you saying that you didn't have any obligations, but even if you had been invited, you just said no? But it's the type of thing of like, I don't want to go to the party, but please invite me at least.
Yeah. Oh, I always love
I want
being invited.
I want the option to have an obligation,
Yeah,
but I'm
yeah,
not
yeah.
coming.
Yeah.
That's nice. I subscribe to that all the time. Like, you please invite me to your party so that I can turn it down.
Okay,
But
will
I
you
want
come?
the invite. I want
No.
the invite.
I'm sorry, I can't.
So let's get to some of the cliches, just as we're wrapping up. Do
We're
we miss?
wrapping up.
Do we miss anything? We're not wrapping. We're
We
rounding
should
third.
we should do the myths and cliches.
Um,
I'm interested to see what they have to say.
okay, so this one comes right out of Spider-Man. With great power comes great responsibility.
Yes. Not necessarily.
Depends on what the power is.
If you're a microwave,
So-
let me start again.
Yeah.
let me-
No. Follow that through. Give us a.
if you're a microwave, you're responsible to heat up that LaChoy.
So
I think somebody needs to put me away today.
well, sometimes microwaves get tired
Well,
and they
clearly
just don't want to
so
do
much
it.
LaChoy that it's like,
Yeah, I have so much.
You don't want to get radiation poisoning.
What
or
is
whatever you
LaChoy?
can.
Can you get radiation poisoning from a microwave?
sure.
Well, I don't know if it's radiation, but
If you
it's
sit on it,
If you sleep next to it.
that little mesh thing in the screen
Yeah.
is preventing the waves from actually escaping and hurting us.
oh my God, let's not talk about EMFs. Those will creep me out. Electromagnetic frequencies.
And
I
it
do
goes in our food.
I do
Yes.
think if you have great power, you have an obligation to be responsible.
Yeah, you do. Yeah,
But,
you absolutely
ultimate
do.
power corrupts.
What kind of
You know-
power, though?
I guess we're not talking about wattage.
Oh,
You know, we're not talking about.
If you have the power that you
Electricity.
run a company, you have a responsibility to your employees.
I'm just thinking of power. Like
You
I
have-
have power to be.
Into society.
Yeah.
Like I have, like inner power. That's what I'm thinking of. I mean, when you said Spider-Man, so I'm thinking of like if I have superpowers.
Okay.
With as a beautiful singing voice as you have, I think it would be irresponsible of you to not share it. That's not my choice, whether or not you do that. But that's great power. I think your responsibility is to share your gift as an artist.
Okay.
I
But
agree,
that's
I
but that's
agree
your
with
but that's
that.
your choice. But that's
Well,
your
that's
choice.
what people
But
do say that to me, and I have made that effort.
But that
to-
also could make you not want to do it.
No, it makes me it gives me the idea that's like, okay, maybe I should do this, and then when I work on a project and then I release it, then I feel good.
Matt's face is very quandrific in
Well,
a quandary. Is that a word?
There's nobody who is more in favor of Claire sharing her voice.
Then
Like, I've been a big promoter. I just think when we talk about great power leads to great, or what is it? Great power comes great responsibility. I think we're talking a little bit bigger.
Like the
I think-
president.
Yeah.
We're talking about the president, but like even like a huge corporation has an obligation to treat its employees right, and has an obligation to not poison the environment.
yeah.
You know, to not lie to the public. Like there's great power in these
A heart
places.
surgeon?
A heart surgeon, yeah. To not go out drinking the night before.
Right. That's what
That's the type of stuff. I
handle
think.
your business.
And that's not putting down Claire's voice, because again, I'm a big promoter of it. But I just
She can
think
carry a
bigger.
tune. It's fine.
All right, number 2. It's the least I can do.
Ugh.
It's the least I can do.
It's 25%.
I mean, if somebody really thanks me for
It's the
something,
least
I
I
say
can
it's the
do.
least I can do.
Oh, I mean, I get that with the way you said it though. You changed it. You changed it on me.
It's the least I can do. Is that better?
It's the least I can do.
Now that I hear that out loud,
It's
I'm
the
hearing,
least I
I'm
can
hearing it
do.
with fresh ears. I don't think I like that statement.
It's the least I can do. No,
I always just say, please, there's no thanks necessary. I want to do
I'm happy to
this.
do this.
I agree with you. I think that's exactly what
It's
it
the
is.
least I could do.
It-
Okay, what's the best you could do?
Well,
Yeah.
I think it's about saying that if you do something for me, then I owe you to do something, as opposed to I want to do something. You know, like
Well,
you saved me financially on this, on whatever. I needed money to keep the restaurant open. I'm watching the Bears, so obviously everything's about a restaurant. So the least I can do is blah 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 for you.
Yes. I mean, I get it. I think it could be worded in a way that is better now that I hear it out loud.
Well, isn't that what
Is I
people
wanna thank
say?
you.
I want to thank you.
Yeah,
Yes.
isn't that what people say when they do make a great effort towards something or someone, and then they're thanked for it? Like, thank you so much. That was really
Thank you for explaining the poopery. It's the least I could do.
Yeah, and then but really, if that person feels like they want to be rewarded for that great effort that they made, and they're trying to be humble and saying, "Oh, it's the least I can do."
Well, I think you're right. I think that's there too. But it's also about doing something in return for something. It's feeling obligated to do something in return. Which
I guess I'm
is the
looking
part I
at this
don't
one a
like
little
about it.
differently.
Yeah. So you're turning an obligation and giving somebody else an obligation to do something nice for you.
Well, if somebody does something for you, they may not have felt obligated. They may have just wanted to.
Do something nice
Yeah,
for you.
like you saving my restaurant. This is the same one. This is basically the same one. I owe you one. And I think on the
I don't
surface
mind
you're like,
saying that.
I owe you one. But you're also, it's about,
It's just another
I'll
way
never say that unless I'm actually planning on owing somebody one.
I think that's just one that's another way of saying thank you. Like I really do owe you one.
yeah, so you don't really think that there's a something coming in return?
No, not unless the person said, "Hey, listen." The moment time you said, you owe me one. I kind of need help right now. Can I call that in?
Well, you just said you owe me one, which is different than I
Okay,
owe you one.
you know what I meant. I gave 25%. Matt said I can't do any more than 100, so I'm going to keep it at 25.
Oh,
I
come
still
on,
think that's a
you can
lot.
do at least 52.
15.
What? That's still a
It
lot.
keeps going down.
15.
Yeah,
it's
no,
gonna go, and it's going to go down lower.
I think if he's getting a percentage of it, we want him to have a lower, not a higher.
Negative
Wow.
10.
No, I think what's interesting about these cliches is that we say them all the time,
Like that.
and the minute we like slow it down and think about what we're actually saying, it has a different meaning.
I never say I owe you one. I never say
I do.
it.
I just said it to you this week, and I mean it. I do owe you one
Yes, but
because I love you and I want to.
well, I appreciate that.
One what?
Dollar?
I don't know. Well, again,
Penny?
The restaurant's going to struggle, so I'm going to need some financial backing.
Let me be really clear. Matt doesn't own a restaurant. He's involved in the show right now, and I just want to be very clear. No one has saved the restaurant. Matt, back to you.
Okay. No, but I think I've said I owe you one. Just like, really, like letting them know that what they're doing for me means so much.
Meaning, yes,
that I would do something for them in a second. But the more I think about it, it is like, I owe you something in return.
And then you look, Matt has silenced
it. That feels less.
Yeah.
I don't know. Feels less.
I try not to need things
that
require me to owe someone back something.
Notifications.
Like, I mean, the things that I get from my friends and family are things like, really genuine
berating.
No, like comfort and care when I need it, and I don't necessarily ask for it. They're just there for me.
Right.
And so, if there are things, if someone has done something for me that I've asked them to do because I need, like, oh, can you run this errand for me, or can you go pick this up for me, I will reimburse them. Or, sometimes I do it with money, I guess, because I want people to think that if they've done me a favor that they have gone out of their way to do for me.
Money changes everything now. That's different a little bit.
I have a really good friend who offers to drive me to the airport. And I
pay for gas.
That person loves you.
I know.
Yeah.
No, I mean, like,
really, you
love,
must. Yeah.
Love.
But
not friend love. That
driving to the
wants,
airport
that
is
wants
like
to
that's
marry
a big. That is a big. Yeah. That's
well,
a big deal.
But I also reimburse that person financially, and
to let them know, like,
to.
their love is.
I'm happy to do it because that
I'm not
airport drive. It's so much.
I'm not giving you love back.
Well, right, because I'm sorry, like I won't do that for you. Like, I don't even care if you'll pay.
I don't know who in the world goes to pick up anybody at the airport anymore.
It's so
I've done
funny.
I've
done it too, but I mean, like, I'm not doing it again.
I used to do it. I used to do it a lot for people.
That is now. I think driving someone to the airport is along the same lines of, hey, I'm moving today. Beer and a pizza. Can you come over? No, I can't. I can't. I don't want a beer and a pizza, and that's not happening till 11 o'clock anyway, and it's 10 a.m. right now. Oh, well, the U-Haul people should be here in about an hour. Oh, fuck me. How have you been? You know what? I don't know. I'm out. Call me when the truck is here. How good are you at lifting? I don't know. Ask me that last week. Why am I here right now? And no, I'm not going to drive you to the airport. Good luck.
No, I do have a couple of friends that would do that for me.
Because they want
they're obligated.
No, they want the love. Well, they want the love in return. I think that's it.
They want,
and you automatically say, "Look, no, we're just friends, and here's a transaction.
No, and
I don't owe you anything."
No, and you. I think you both know who these people are, and you know.
I do.
Well, I
know
guess
two of them.
I guess I could say their names.
Yeah,
I could say their names.
I'll say their names.
Well, I'll say them first in case you get them wrong.
Okay, 1, 2, 3. Dan
Seb
Rather.
and Kevin. What?
1, 2, 3.
Seb
Matt would
and...
if he could.
Okay.
1, 2, 3.
Kenneman.
Don't even ask me.
So my friend Kenneman and Seb, who just moved to Arizona,
Hey,
which
Seb.
it would be very difficult for Seb to drive you to the airport right now.
No, but if I really needed him,
Let's bring him out. Seb. He's been waiting.
He probably would if I really needed him to. That's the thing is, he's
like that.
Those two people are like my ride or die.
Yeah.
Speaking of ride, I can't drive, so I mean I walk here. Just so you know.
That's why you're always late.
I'm not.
Well, the last couple of times.
Oh, I knew that would
God,
sting.
the thing is I'm not a late person.
No, I know you're not. It's just
it doesn't matter. We come here to chat.
It's so early on Sunday mornings.
You just don't care enough about us.
It's the Lord's day. It's my day. I'm obligated, and I'm gay.
Well, that's a beautiful rhyme you made.
That was great.
Can I just say this?
I don't know.
It's the feeling of being in debt that I think is the thing that makes it feel negative to me. When you say to me, Grady, "Oh, I owe you one," I'm not thinking for a second that you owe me anything other than
what can I ask him for?
Other than the friendship,
right?
And that I know if I need to unload about something or vent about something or need your support on something that you will be there.
Yes.
But I don't think that it's an exchange of
one
thing for another.
I agree.
You know?
Mm-hmm.
And so that's the thing about I owe you one. It's just it's a saying more than it is like actual
debt,
meaning.
So yeah, you're right. You're connecting that with debt. No, I have a very strict policy. Neither a borrower nor a lender be, especially. And not to bring
Did
that
you
up-
just make that up?
No,
That's very clever.
I mean,
Never heard that
geez.
before.
I mean, really, I don't owe anybody money. I don't lend anybody money. Do not. That's a whole. I don't do that. I would never.
I do have bills.
I don't
coming
care how
up,
much I
though.
love somebody. I'm not giving you money. Never turns out well.
What if they drive you to the airport?
I'd rather walk.
Like, but you're like, oh, I'll pay.
I'm being
I'll
very
pay
serious. I'm being very serious.
But what if you?
No, you would pay.
like,
You
pay
would
for
pay
the
a stranger
tolls?
to do it.
Yeah, I mean, I would, but if I couldn't afford any other way and needed help, I would do it myself. before
Well,
I'd
you
ask
can just take
anyone.
the train now. It's so easy.
Okay, you're giving me other options. I'm saying we're in a world where I have to walk.
Okay. You really want to walk all that way with your suitcase?
It's not a want,
Hmm.
but I would rather do that than owe someone for something.
Okay, but what if I drove you to the airport and
I'd feel bad about it.
and you asked me to do it, and I said
I
yes.
would never ask.
Would you would you mind like just paying me for the tolls that I'll have to
And I would
incur?
go, yeah, 1 second, hold on. And then you would hear the door shut. And Grady?
But what if I didn't have a lot of money, right? And I was just like, I wanted to do this
Then
for
I would
you.
exploit that.
Why do
Okay.
you think it's so hard for you to want to be in a position of debt, for lack of a better term? Like you said, I would rather walk to. I'm assuming
And I
LaGuardia
would.
because
I've-
Kennedy's way too far.
I've done it.
Not from Connecticut. Maybe when you lived in New York City.
You finished with your $4?
But even then, no way. There's no way. You took a subway to Queens or something and then walked.
I have made a lot of things happen in my life that I could have asked for help from someone for, but I would much rather do it myself.
So let's get to the bottom of that.
I don't want to owe anybody anything. I don't want to owe anyone anything.
Why not?
However, I love
Money wise?
I love to help people. I love it. I absolutely love it. If you say the words "I need you," I'll come. I'll come running.
Which is a beautiful thing, but life can't just be give. Should be give, take, take.
What is the percentage on that?
Give. Well, it's probably 75-25.
Not 800.
60-40.
I don't know. I have a problem with it. I have a great. I have a
100,
great. I have a
though,
great
crying out
problem
loud.
with having both. I don't want any outstanding debt. I don't know. Maybe I've seen too many things or people in my life.
Yeah,
that have
it does
had
get
debt,
messy. I do
and
agree with you.
And it gets just too
Financially,
much.
I get that.
Totally.
Like money, I totally get that. But like,
I'll do anything for anybody else, but I don't ask for favors. I do not ask for favors.
meaning you
as a
probably
general
do
rule.
ask for help.
I
Is help feeling like a favor?
don't ask for help. I have a
That
really
feels
hard
that
time
feels
with it.
like
I have a very hard time with asking for help. I don't mind giving it.
yeah.
And I find in giving help that I find help for myself within the parameters of.
You probably
that
do ask for help
usually.
a little bit more than you think you do, but it's not in a way that you feel uncomfortable with. I mean,
I'm not the type
I
of person
think-
like, can you grab me a drink from the fridge? I get it myself.
Yeah. No, I don't-
Grab me the remote. No, I get it myself. I'd rather stare at something across the room and go, I'd like
But
to
if someone
have it.
asks you, "Can you get me a Coke?" You're like,
Oh,
"Up and do it."
I have no problem with it. Yeah.
Now,
yeah, I think we do that. I mean, I self-sufficiency. I like that. I like to be self-sufficient. I like to figure things out for myself before asking
but it's
somebody for
but
something.
it's also okay to, like,
Mhm.
Claire, you worked harder all day than I did. Sit on the couch.
Yeah.
Let me get you a Coke.
like, oh, I really can't find the stamps. Does anyone know where they are?
I
You
do,
know.
but I'm not going to. I bought them.
Yeah. Oh, they're in
Oh,
the
you
desk.
just don't want to share them. That's different. You don't want to share your stamps.
Oh, they're in the desk over there. Oh, okay. I'm looking. I can't find them. I thought they were in here. I can't see them. Instead of being like, Mom, where are the stamps? Mom, where are
right,
they?
like total dependence upon somebody else is different
Mom?
than letting yourself being taken care of every once in a while. Like I don't see the problem in the balance.
You're right.
You know,
You're right. I don't either. I think the best things that people do for you don't have to ask them to do.
Yeah. Well, again, like
Best
the
things I can
whole
do for
point of
people.
this thing is about figuring out different ways that we can be seen by each other,
Hmm.
and that's a huge part. Like just feeling seen by your friends, by your partner, by your family, so that sometimes we don't have to say the things that we need. People just interpret that, which I guess isn't a foolproof plan of happiness for sure, but it also does feel pretty good, I guess. I don't know. I don't like that statement.
I don't like it either.
We were still on.
I don't hate it, but I don't. It's not one that's on top of my list.
No, but it's like the idea of feeling seen by somebody, not for the purposes of they'll do things for you, but it just kind of reminds you that people know you, people understand you. But I will on the other side of the give part of it, I will try to interpret that stuff for people, just because it also makes me feel good. You know?
Yeah. I do know that, and I could not agree with that more.
So obligations, you can't get by without obligations and burdens,
and they're healthy sometimes too. They
crossing over each other.
They help us grow.
The last two are, it's not what you're capable of, it's what you're willing to do. I don't even get that. It's not what you're capable of, it's what you're willing to do. The cliche suggests that the obligation is not just about having the ability to do something, but also about having the willingness to take action.
Yeah.
I guess so. I've never heard that phrase before in my life.
I have.
It's like someone,
right?
You might need to do something and you're not sure you can do it, but you'll make the effort to do it anyway.
Oh, no, there are things that I know I can do, but I'm not going to offer up because I don't have that kind of time. So here's an example. God, back to theater again. Say I know how to possibly sew. I don't. Wink, wink. I am not going to tell somebody, I can sew, because then guess what? They're throwing me 8 costumes to work on. And I can do that, but then I'm going to create an obligation for myself that I'm not interested in. So I'd rather tell somebody, can you sew? No, not really.
In college, I was...
Does that make sense? Must be.
Yeah, no. I'm just thinking about something that I think I can do, kind of, but I don't offer it up because I'm not really good at it.
I guess
but
that's
I
what
could
I mean. Not
do
offering
it.
up the skill or the thing, because if you do, you're locked into
that's
that.
That's like the opposite of what this is saying. Like, but
maybe I'm missing it.
No. But you're no. I think that's a I think that's an important thing too. But when I was in college, I was the music director of my a cappella group for 1 year.
What were they called?
The Cordials. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, they were fun. But I was not very capable of arranging music on paper, but I had some skill. I was a little bit better at doing it by ear rather than putting it on paper. So, but if somebody was like, Claire, we need you to arrange this song, I'll say, okay, I can do that, but it's not going to be like very intricate or very good. And I'm going to need you guys to help me like fill in some of the blank spaces. And so I did that. I did that a couple of times. If somebody today asked me to arrange a song, I would say yes. And I would employ as many people as possible to help me with it.
Right.
Because...
Well, that's when you've grown, I feel like. When you can ask for help within the obligation that you have been tasked with.
Yeah, because I've already said I can do something. And this might not be an obligation, because if someone asks me to do that, I would feel incredibly honored.
Right.
But then I'd be like, okay, I just took
it?
something on that is a little bit outside my expertise. How am I going to accomplish this? And I would, I have many people who could help me with this, but then I would, but then it's like, how much credit do I take if I didn't really do some of this stuff?
Well, you can do great things if you don't mind who gets the credit.
Yeah, which I don't think you do. I sit in those situations too, and I just want to give credit to everybody.
Yeah, you do, Matt.
Because like as a pseudo technical director,
I was about to say you get pulled into a lot of other things.
I know how to set lights through the board, and I know how to create sound cues, and I know how to run the boards, and I know I can create all of that stuff, but I can't do the construction. People go, oh, if you're a technical director, you can build sets and stuff like that. I got no skill in the carpentry, and I don't really like set lights in terms of like positioning and stuff like that, because I don't like to be on top of ladders. But I can program the board, and I can do the creative. I can do the creative part of setting lights and creating looks and things like that.
You're one that is very aware of your skills and what you can and cannot do, and when you need to bring someone else in. You are you're very aware of that, and I've always appreciated that about you.
Thank you. I never feel qualified to do anything really. So I've always wanted help. You know, I feel like my ego gets
You like help.
plenty of lift from certain things. Like if I can make people laugh and I can do that on stage, like my ego is set. If my kids, when I'm directing kids, find success or grow, that feeds my ego and stuff like that. I don't need the praise. That's not where my ego gets fed at all. So I often enjoy asking people.
And the praise often is an obligation after the show. I'm obligated to go, good job.
Well, that's again why I always tell my students, like,
Good
you're
job. You were great.
You're
Oh,
not
baby, you were
performing for
so
your parents.
wonderful. Oh, you were wonderful.
You've said that to me before, just like that.
I know, right? The same tone.
Huh.
I wonder what that means.
Did you not mean it when you said it?
Probably my medication interacted with my liquor in some way. My mind went toe up. Matt likes me when I talk about things getting toe up.
In my line of work,
I just like that phrasing.
in my line of work, I'm often asked if I can design jewelry, and I feel like
Well, my friend Julie, the jeweler, who's often like,
no, I don't know how to do it.
That's somebody else that sets things and
Yeah.
does things. I mean, I can help you with an idea, but
yes,
I don't have a soldering table. I don't.
right.
Someone else sets
I
that.
can't even
In
draw.
fact, you're like, what's the most expensive part of it? I'm like, actually, say you have a sterling silver piece, the cleaning is going to be the most expensive part of like the actual piece. I don't clean.
Yeah. Well, so people ask
Jewelry.
me if I can design
clean
something, and I'm like, I
myself.
can help you with an idea. I can show you a piece that I currently have, and it could
I
look
don't
like
make
this,
jewelry.
a little different. I can't draw, but I try. But then there's another girl that I work with who's so much better at the big like concept, and she can draw so well. I
Is this
often
Dawn?
no, it's
I'm thinking of
no,
somebody
no,
else.
it's somebody else. And she puts that idea on paper, and she adds like the relief, and she adds the colors, and she adds like the certain elements to it. And I'm like, she can design, and she comes up with extra ideas for me, and she asks me the questions that I didn't even think to ask the customer.
She's the preparation H to your roid.
And then the jeweler.
I don't know that metaphor works. Don't.
Yeah, I
don't,
wasn't-
you don't-
I wasn't gonna go
Let her
there.
finish your story. Let her finish your story.
Because then what happens is that the jeweler then he takes the concept and then he makes it, and then he'll make it way better.
Now, how many hands has that gone through to get
Exactly.
there? You know,
and
you
it
know.
and it shouldn't matter. Like you don't.
exactly doesn't matter.
And
But
I
then
don't
pe-
think it does for
But
you.
then people are like, Claire, thank you. And I'm like, I didn't do anything.
But you did facilitate
Put it in motion.
all of the people with the skills. But I get it.
Yeah.
I don't want to take credit for things that aren't only mine. And then I don't really want to take credit. This last one on the list is it's my duty.
How's it spelled?
Doesn't matter. It's got 2 O's in my brain.
How's my duty?
So again,
It's my
It's
duty.
pretty firm. Looks good.
I think
Sweet potato. When did I have corn?
it goes both ways, right? You can think of duty as something that gives you pride. Isolate that saying. Oh, jeez. So, there's no coming back from that now, I think.
I can't. Oh God! If you're listening,
What a
you're
log.
still listening.
Yeah, if you've made it this long. So it can be good and can be bad. Do it,
my
make it
God.
up for yourself, I guess.
Lean over that way.
No,
man.
you shouldn't lean over that way. I feel like that was aimed at me. I feel like it was aimed at me.
It wasn't. It wasn't
I've been making
intentional.
duty jokes all day, and I feel like it was aimed at
What
me.
was the question? Are you doing your duty well? Is that what the question was?
Does your duty bring you pride?
Oh. No, it doesn't. But the one with 2 O's usually
Does
makes
doing
me feel
a good
accomplished.
duty
But
bring your pride? Does duty equal pride? You have your
do you take pride in your duty?
yes, exactly.
D-U-T-Y, D-U-T-Y, D-U-T-Y.
Do you take pride in your duty? No, I don't.
no.
It can be prideful. And then others, it can be...
Painful.
the word I wanted to come up with was it can be prideful, or it can feel like an obligation.
Right.
So in the end, it feels like obligation to me. I'm struggling with the positivity of obligation in general.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. No, if you are talking about duty in the sense of you have to do something, and I mean, if the certain obligations that I do that are paying the taxes on my car, filing my taxes every year, those things, I do take pride in the fact that I have
the ability to do
the ability to do it, and I've also participated as a civilian, and that I'm doing my civic duty.
Yes, we've lost Grady. We've lost Grady. Thank you, Claire,
He's crying.
for finishing those thoughts. I really appreciate it. God, I what is this? I don't know. When this episode comes out, I hope people enjoy it.
Yeah.
The duty of obligation.
Excuse me. Which end did that come out of? That last
I'm
one?
not confident.
Oh, bye.
So what did we learn? I think we learned that obligation can be both positive and negative, but often leans towards the negative and can feel like a real burden, and that some people will walk all the way from Connecticut to JFK Airport just to avoid being obligated to their friends. And is satisfaction a word? I don't know. Speaking of words, obligation is just a word. I mean, it could mean responsibility. It can mean duty. It can mean being accountable to. But in the wrong hands, an obligation can be a really negative thing. Thank you so much for listening to the Last Will podcast. If you like what you heard, please rate, review, and subscribe. Tell a friend, tell a friend's friend. If you'd like to find us, we can be found at The Last Will Podcast on Instagram, or go to our website at thelastwillpodcast.com. New episodes come out on Wednesdays, wherever you get your podcasts. Till next time, onward, forward.